the SPAR Swiss Epic. This event has legendary status within the Epic series of global mountain bike stage races. A 5-day quest to conquer the Alps in Switzerland's southeastern Graubünden canton. It's a race that attracts some of the world's best riders and competitive age groupers to challenge themselves to complete and contest for victory across the 339-kilometre route. A route that has 10,850 metres of accumulated elevation gain, as well as some of the region's most iconic purpose-built mountain bike flow trails and rugged natural tracks. From bike kingdom Lenzerheide to the capital of alpine sport, St. Moritz, and on to the single-track paradise of Davos. There were breathtaking vistas to savour, trails to thrill, and climbs to get the heart pumping, all while revelling in the camaraderie of like-minded men and women who are pushing themselves to be their very best. Stage 1 began and finished in Lenzerheide and set the scene for the UCI men's and women's battles to come. The opening day packed 2,500 metres of climbing into 51 kilometres, as well as some of the region's most famous trails.
Yeah, it's my first time in Swiss Epic, but Daniel did it already many times and won it already, so I think I have one of the best partners for sure here, and yeah, the goal is for sure to try to win the general.
Almen's Willa Pirelli teammate Daniel Giesmeyer had won the 2022 edition alongside Fabian Rabensteiner. In 2023, the Italian team squad would have to see off challenges from Canyon Northwave, Buff Megamo, the Bulls, Team Larks and Torpedo Factory, amongst others. In fact, there were 31 teams in the UCI men's start group. But the first climb of the race proved that only a very elite selection would be in contention for stage honours come the end of the day. Along with Almen and Giesmeyer, the early protagonists were Martin Stosek and Mark Stutzmann, Hans Becking and Peter Pruss, Simon Schneller and Axel Rudil Kortinat, as well as Fadri Barandon and Connie Lusa. Casey South and Jakob Dorigoni showed promising signs, but a major puncture cost the Torpedo Factory combination any chances of climbing or descending with the very best. Though the single tracks provided plenty of fun, even for the most serious of general classification race teams, the arduous ascents were where the difference was made. Stosek and Stutzmann were best matched and climbed in sync for the Canyon Northwave team, while Giesmeyer struggled for Willa Pirelli and Proust did likewise for Buff Megamo. Once the Canyon Northwave squad had built up a sizable advantage, it was a matter of damage limitation for the rest, a feat that proved nearly as hard as attempting to follow their wheels had been earlier. As a result, Canyon Northwave won the stage by a commanding 2 minutes and 43-second margin. Almen and Giesmeyer were second, 1 minute and 9 seconds up on Becking and Pruss. This meant that Stosek and Stutzmann would start stage 2 in the yellow Ciavita leaders jerseys, something the Swiss rider was thrilled about. It's actually the third race that has gone super well. We got a fourth at the World Championships, then the Swiss Championships, so I'm over the moon. Of course, we're motivated to defend the title, but for me personally, it's mainly about trail fun on 5 beautiful stages in Switzerland. The defending women's champions of Adelheid Morath and Bettina Janus of Davos Cloisters would be up against 9 other UCI women's teams. These included the Team St. Moritz, Torpedo Bulls, Cannondale Vass Arabe, and the ABSA Cape Epic winning Elysata Efficient Infinity Insure squad. From the off, it was clear that Morath, Janus, Vera Lusa and Kim Lecourt were in a class apart from the rest of the women's field. They used the opening climb of the race to establish a pattern which would replicate itself for much of the race, the European champion leading until her partner Janus could match the pace no more. At that point, the Namibian Lusa and the Mauritanian Lecourt rode inexorably away. Davos Cloisters fought to limit their losses, while Katarzyna Sosna and Irina Lutzelschwab proved the best of the rest. Not even the spectacular single tracks of bike kingdom Lenzerheide could give Morath and Janus the advantage they needed to close down Lusa and Lecourt. The Elysata Efficient Infinity Insure team won the opening stage in commanding fashion by 11 minutes from the Davos Cloisters combination, The Torpedo Bulls joined the two top squads on the day's podium as Lucer and Lecourt pulled on the first orange Sia Vita jerseys.
It's a special one for us this year, especially winning the Cape Epic, so it was a goal to kind of do the double. It's obviously still 4 days to go, it's still a long one. We know that anything can happen in a long stage race.
The uncertainty and unpredictability of stage racing kept the elite riders focused as they prepared for stage 2, especially as it would be the longest course of the race, 81 kilometres, and it took the teams from Lenzerheide to San Moritz via the Abula Pass at 2,312 metres above sea level.
Always the yellow means a lot. I think it's so nice to race in the yellow jersey. I have so many memories from the Cape Epic. We spent so many time in the yellow, but we didn't make it to the finish.
Having learnt the hard lessons inflicted in Africa, Stosek was in no mood to take chances in Graubünden. He and Stutzman ensured they were always at or near the front of the group, as Alman set the early tempo. A dramatic moment further down the group illustrated the wisdom of this policy. Were it not for some superb bike skills, an innocuous crash could have brought 2 riders down rather than just one. As it was, Willia Pirelli were forced to set the pace, but that tactic proved less successful than they would have hoped, as once again Canyon Northwave proved too strong. When the climbing began in earnest, the men in yellow ghosted off the front, leaving the Bulls and Buff Megamo to battle it out with Alman and Giesmeyer for the minor places. Stosek and Stutzman summited the Abula Pass with a commanding lead and could afford to enjoy the incredible Abula Trail down towards San Moritz. Behind, though, it was a fight for second with 3 teams in contention. Canyon's Northwave eventual margin victory was 4 minutes and 24 seconds, taking their general classification advantage to nearly 8 minutes. Behind them, Simon Schneller and Axel Rudil Cortinat held off Becking and Pruss for second. Actually, we had the plan to attack only at the middle of the Abula Pass, but I felt good and I tried to set a high pace from the beginning and we got away well, so yes, I'm super happy. In the women's race, it was all smiles before the hostilities commenced. And once they did, it was Morath again who was the primary aggressor, dragging the top 3 teams from the day before away from the rest, then separating Torpedo Bulls from the penultimate section. Despite the home region support, the Davos Cloisters team were unable to match the Elisata Efficient Infinity Inshore when Lucer and Lecourt attacked. On the lower slopes of the Abula Pass, the women in orange built an advantage, which they extended over the second half of the route, eking out seconds on every uphill and holding the gap on the trails. A time trial effort towards San Moritz all but assured victory as they swapped off on the front, especially after it became apparent that Janus had nothing more to give. The pursuit was futile for Morath. For the second day in a row, Lucer and Lecourt crossed the finish line elated at their stage victory. Morath and Janus had to be content with second. While Sosna and Lutzel-Schwab looked less happy with their ride to third. After 2 stages, Lucer and Lecourt led overall by 14 minutes.
Yeah, it was amazing. I must say I did look at the views and the lakes. I'm not used to seeing such blue lakes. Yeah, I loved every minute of it. Awesome trails, so many people on the trail supporting.
We have a good lead, but you can never be sure. It's a stage race. With a crash or a stupid mistake, you can lose time very quickly. The midway point of the race promised more thrilling racing, with flow trails aplenty in stunning San Moritz. Stage 3 was 58 kilometres long and boasted 2,100 metres of climbing, plus 4 iconic single tracks. A misty start hid the beauty of the village and its mountains initially, though the fog burnt off as the race hotted up, revealing a playground of towering peaks, forested valleys and azure lakes. The climbs of Stage 3 were precipitously steep, even by SPAR Swiss Epic standards. It required grinding in the lowest gear with perseverance, even for the world's best stage racers, to overcome. But for every ascent, there was a descent. Smooth, sculpted flow lines ensured rapid descents. 3 teams escaped off the front together, with Torpedo Factory joining the race's usual aggressors, Canyon Northwave and Willia Pirelli. With Stosek and Stutzman marking Giesmeyer and Allman, South and Dorigoni were able to slip up the trail, building a handy 1-minute advantage. But just as it looked like the team's tactics might lead to a victory for the Swiss-Italian combination, Stosek punctured. Despite a quick wheel change for the Canyon Northwave man, the incident handed the impetus to Willia Pirelli. Spurred on by the opportunity to make up time, Giesmeyer and Allman reeled in South and Dorigoni, then charged ahead in search of stage honours. In pursuit, Stosek and Stutzman also passed the Torpedo Factory team, yet there was no catching Willia and Pirelli. Giesmeyer and Allman won the stage, clawing back time. Canyon Northwave recovered to second, limiting their losses to 1 minute and 22 seconds. South and Dorigoni were third, content to have a stage podium after a disastrous opening 2 days.
Like, you try so hard, you are in front, you have already one climb done and you feel good. And then from the sudden you hit some stone in the grass which you cannot see.
We were pretty fast with the back wheel change and actually didn't lose too much time. Then we came back a bit on the climb, but we didn't want to risk too much in the downhill. The last 2 days I didn't have such good legs, but today was much better. Nevertheless, it was a really hard day, but with the trails, we definitely had fun. In the UCI women's race, the showdown between Davos Cloisters and Elisata Efficient Infinity Insure continued. Morath set the tempo on the first climb, before Lecourt led Lusa away from their main rivals. The African combination were clearly the strongest pairing, if not always the strongest individual riders in the field. On the flowing descents, Lusa, who lives in Switzerland, took over from her teammate and showed visiting Lecourt the lines, as Janus did for Germany's Morath. But then, when the trails turned uphill again, the roles within the teams were reversed. Try as they may, Davos Cloisters could not stop the slow ceding of time to the race leaders. But at least with all the trails of St. Moritz to ride, there was reason enough to be happy, beyond stage victories. We've taken all the flow trails here in 1 day. That was pure fun. Sosna and Lutzelschwab were also enjoying the trails, but winning made the fun all the sweeter for Elisata Efficient Infinity Inshore. For the 3rd day in a row, Lusa and Lecourt took stage honours. Morath and Janus notched up their 3rd second-place finish behind the winners, while Torpedo Bulls stepped onto their 3rd podium of the week too. The victory extended Lusa and Lecourt's general classification buffer to 22 minutes and 11 seconds.
We wanted to see how the legs feel. Yesterday we did take it easier for today because we knew it was going to be a hard stage. I didn't know any of the trails. Vera did though a little bit.
So I knew what to expect, but at racing speed it hurts a bit more. Kim and I have known each other for an extremely long time. We rode together on the road 9 or 10 years ago, so we already knew each other back then and we rode the Epic together. Kim actually came from the road, so I wasn't sure about the partnership. I didn't know how good she was on the bike, but she really impressed me at the Swiss Epic.
I think stage racing is super special in the way that you get to really know each other in and out, in your hard moments, in your suffering moments, in your weaknesses and your happiness.
Kim is extremely motivated and focused on goals. She always makes me suffer on the bike, so I'm not so fond of her there. She's never taken me to Mauritius.
The offer has been on the table for many years, but she's never come. I've been to Switzerland twice now. 3 good things: she loves cooking spaghetti bolognese. That's one thing she keeps on saying all the time. 3 bad things.
First do the 3 good things, please.
It's hard to find the good things. Vera is very caring in terms of organising everything for me. She's like a mom to me in a lot of ways. So that's a bad thing about Vera. I do offer, but she never comes.
Yeah, in the end it's bike racing, but the experiences and emotions that we have together, It's almost more important to me.
Fast noch wichtiger.
A lot of people struggle to find teammates and they always swap with teammates at every stage races. They have someone different and we seem to kind of found something special here and yeah, I highly doubt it's the last one. It's probably a friendship that has grown and will never fade away.
With 2 days left to race, friendships and cordial relations between the teams were about to be put to the test. After the victory yesterday, the motivation has certainly grown again, and we'll try everything for the last 2 days. Stage 4 provided the penultimate opportunity for Willia Pirelli to make up time, and the course provided the terrain to assist in that task, with the ascent to the highest point in the race. The problem for Giesmeyer and Allman was that Stosek and Stutzman had been climbing stronger all week. Thus, overturning the men in yellow's lead would be anything but easy. The European marathon champion was eager to attack and do all he could, especially with natural trails providing nervous moments where punctures were a real possibility. But having navigated those risks, Canyon Northwave put their climbing legs to good use, ascending away from their rivals on the fearsome Scaletta Pass. On the smooth lower slopes, they built up an advantage over Willia Pirelli and the Bulls. They then maintained that lead on the technical top single track section of the climb. They started the descent with the comfort of a buffer and no need to take risks. Having distanced the Bulls, Giesmeyer and Allman went all in on the Durboden trail towards Davos. Schneller and Rudil Cortinat were no slouches on the descent themselves, but could not join Willia Pirelli in regaining contact with Northwave. A touch of shoulders between Giesmeyer and Stosek set the quarter up for a tense and acrimonious sprint finish, which Canyon Northwave thought they had edged, until a photo replay revealed that Giesmeyer had pipped Stosek. Schneller and Rudil Cortinat rode home in third and joined Canyon Northwave and Willia Pirelli on the Frosty stage and general classification podiums, having moved ahead of Buff Megamo on the overall standings. Up to the grass, I was first. Then the Voet has overtaken me, and then it was very tight, and I think I couldn't see it anymore.
For us, more important is to stay in yellow. More important is that we didn't lose any time, and that we had a plan which worked out completely.
The sprint itself was fair, so they deserved to win.
Yeah, I mean, we are training together since last half a year, so we spent some time in the saddle together at the training camps, also at the races. And yeah, I know that Mark is very good in the downhills, so which is he also like proving here in the Swiss Epic. I learned that he also has a huge power in the climbs, which I knew even before, but I think now he is like maybe in the lifetime shape, I would say, because of the World Champs and the Swiss Championships.
I knew he was very strong at the uphills, and I had quite a bit of respect. But I came along quite well, I would say.
What we have the same, I think, is good starts in the races. I think the strategy and the position riding in the group, I think we both can manage very well. What we have completely different is that when we are at home, Mark has a baby, so he cannot rest at all and cannot sleep, and I can put my legs up and sleep well and recover better. So that's the biggest difference, I would say now.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, to win this race would be very important, and yeah, would be another nice piece of puzzle to this season.
Da würde mich sicher sehr stolz machen. Erstens, für so ein Rennen zu gewinnen und auch noch in der Schweiz.
In the UCI women's race, the penultimate stage was one of high drama, though it started benignly enough. The opening kilometres proceeded in the now established fashion, with Morath, Janas, Lucer and Lecourt riding away. The Torpedo Bulls were fighting to remain in contention. Lutzelschwab was digging deep, and she and Sosna never lost sight of the leading quartet. However, on the first steady climb, the race leaders' jerseys began to exert their dominance. Janus lost contact, and Elisator Efficient Infinity and Shaw were able to control the tempo. In their pre-race planning, entering the single tracks first was key to a safe and secure ride through the stage. Little did they know it was an open road which would trip them up.
Oh, there was a crash. So there was a big crash in front.
Kim rode like a warrior today.
Are you okay?
Yeah. They just bumped into each other and went down both so hard. So yeah, I just tried the best to manage her to get to the finish, but she was in so much pain, and hats off to her that she actually made it.
While Lecourt was able to finish and take the start line of the final stage, Morath had to withdraw with a fractured collarbone. While the rest of the field were celebrating the final stage, the women's race leaders were approaching stage 5 with trepidation. In the UCI men's race, Canyon Northwave's rivals were eager to use this last opportunity to put pressure on the men in yellow. As was proved in the women's race, anything could still happen. Plus, there were stage honours and minor places to contest too. Unsurprisingly then, the start was fast and furious. Every position on the trails was hotly contested. There were fights for the best line and fights to follow the right wheel. Only on the climb past the village of Sertig Dorfli did the road open up and provide the opportunity for Stosek and Stutzman to elevate themselves out of the chaos. As they rode away, the battle for the final podium spot became even more important, with Becking doing all he could to aid Proust to the line. Yet the powerful Dutch rider's efforts were thwarted by the Bulls. Up ahead, Stosek and Stutzman were riding to their third stage victory, while Giesmeyer and Alman were grinding home for second.
The top division of the SPAR Swiss Epic, Canyon Northwave, Martin Stosek, Mark Stutzman.
We are overwhelmed. I would not have thought it. I already knew that I was in good shape, and so was Martin. But 2 days before the race, I still had the Swiss Championship, and then we started with a victory in the stage race. It's been a perfect week for us.
I knew that we can really make a good result here, and to win it in the end, it's such a great feeling. I mean, we were first riding together with Mark for the first time, and it worked out perfectly. So I mean, there is a lot of potential for maybe other races.
Yeah, in a lot of pain, but yeah, try not to think about it too much. I didn't have the greatest of sleeps, but yeah, it's only 1 day left, 3 hours, so I'll push as hard as I can and get to the finish in one piece.
With that goal firmly in mind, and to keep an eye on Torpedo Bulls as their closest rivals, Elisator Efficient Infinity and Shaw set out to defend their leader's jersey one final time. Initially, Lucer and Lecourt eased into the stage, riding defensively, shadowing Sosna and Lutzelschwab. But that was not how the Mauritian wanted to end her SPAR Swiss Epic campaign. When the route kicked up, Lecourt pushed on, distancing the Torpedo Bulls and Cannondale Vass Arabay teams. Sosna and Lutzelschwab consolidated to hold on for second on the day, but there was no stopping the flying Lusa and Lecourt. For the fourth time in the race, they crossed the finish line first, adding a third Epic Series title to their team palmares.
And now our winning women have popped the champagne.
Today I was actually really motivated to win the stage and do well, and weirdly enough, even if I could barely walk, but yeah, I was super happy that we could take the overall. It's a dream for us, and yeah, I mean, we couldn't ask for better.
In its 10th edition, the SPAR Swiss Epic, one of Europe's premier mountain bike stage races, saw a total of 600 riders in teams of 2 from 45 countries conquer the Alps. It was a breathtaking week of mountain biking, and it comes to a memorable end for the aspiring amateurs.